Hello, Rosemary.
Hello.
I apologize for my confusing invite. I didn't realize I invited people for tomorrow.
Yeah, I just wanted to be sure, so.
No, I'm glad you sent that. I hope I didn't mess the whole thing up by doing that. How are you tonight?
We're doing fine. Just getting a lot of rain here again from that storm that came in from the Gulf. So.
Yeah. Any more flooding, or is it just rain?
Around here, I think the rivers are high. We've got river warnings, so some of the rivers are high. Yeah, I just wanted to be sure, so.
No, I'm glad you sent that. I hope I didn't mess the whole thing up by doing that. Well, I'm going to delete one of these because apparently. Are you there now, and are we live?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that again. Let's hope we get a couple other folks join us despite my bad invite. Well, give me 1 second. I need to go find a pair of headphones because I want to make sure we don't have an echo. So give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
Okay.
And tell folks that I'm here. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Room with a fireplace.
Lots of light.
A much bigger bathroom.
Sounds like somebody's home shopping.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that for you or for someone else?
No, it was nearby. I had to tell him to.
Well,
What
part of Texas do you live in again, Rosemary?
I'm in they call the Dallas, the Metroplex area, but I'm about a half an hour from Oklahoma.
So you're north part of Dallas then?
Yeah.
Or a very north part?
Right.
Okay. That's a nice area there.
Yes, we get a nice breeze in here, but it's fairly flat. We have to look at clouds if we want to see scenery.
Yes. Yeah, but it's probably not 114 at your house today.
No, but you have dry heat, isn't your heat more dry?
It is, but it's still hot.
I have to tell you about my experience of going to Arizona. We thought about living there before we moved here, and when we drove there, we brought sodas that the kids drank, and then we left them in the car with the windows rolled up. We came back, and the rear view mirror had melted off and fallen on the ground, and the sodas had popped open, and they were empty, and there wasn't one, other than the can sitting there popped open, and you would have never thought we had soda in the car.
Uh-huh.
I don't know where it went into the air.
It evaporated.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a hot place. There's no doubt, especially in a car with windows up. It can be like almost 200 degrees. And unfortunately, there are people that don't pay attention, and there's always, every year, there's 3 or 4 or 5 kids that are left in a car and they pass away because of that. It just, and it doesn't take very long. Half an hour, and that can be all there is. So
Yeah, that happens here too.
yeah. Hello, Nancy. How are you?
Hi, doing pretty good.
Hey, I
You wet me?
apologize for the confusion on the invite. I didn't realize I'd put tomorrow's date.
That's okay. This week's been crazy.
Yes, it is. It's lots going on.
Mhm.
Give me just 1 minute, and I'm going to check on one thing, and we'll give just another minute or two for people to get here, and then we will get started.
Rosemary, did it flood where you're at today?
Well, it didn't really flood here. Our building leaked all over the place.
Oh.
One of our windows is just pouring in rain, so
Oh,
but all the rivers they're above crest level, so.
I just, we had our meetings this week, our kind of year-end wrap-up meetings, and two of the guys' air flights got canceled at DFW. Right. And then, so I just had them rent cars and drive to Kansas, but I didn't realize that the Red River had flooded.
Right.
So I'm hoping we didn't know what else really to do because the American Airlines wouldn't put them on another flight today, and they had young kids. But yeah, on my way to work this morning, a guy stopped me on the truck and said, "Please tell me you're not going to try and cross the bridge." And I was like, "Is it bad?" And I guess it was about a foot over the bridge.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not a good idea.
No.
Mm-hmm. I actually crossed it the day before because I was late to my meeting, and
that's dangerous.
They were setting the barricades up, and they were like, "I can't believe you just did that." And I said, "I was late, almost late for work." I think it was about 6 or 8 inches or so deep, but
wow.
In my Elantra.
Lots of people are losing roads and their driveways, and they can't get to their homes, and there's a lot of people that are like stranded. So
it's that's a crazy thing. Well, there's a fair amount of rivers in Texas anyway, and there's obviously plenty of water to go around. It sounds like.
Yeah.
Well, there's only there's rivers, but there's no lake. There's only one lake in Texas. The rest of our lakes are man-made.
That's right. Only one natural lake.
Well, the good news is, I guess your drought is over, right?
Definitely.
Definitely. Yes. Yep. That's for sure.
I just hope some of those people that move don't get reflooded somewhere else.
Yeah. Nancy, what part of Texas do you live in?
Near Waco.
So you're east of Dallas, right?
South.
South of, okay.
Yeah, directly south of Fort Worth.
Okay.
Which is west of Dallas. We're about 2 hours south here.
Yeah, we're all off of 35, right?
Yep. I live about a mile off of I-35.
Yeah, I can hear it from my house, so.
Yeah, we can too if we walk out on our deck. In the wintertime, we can hear it from the house.
Well, why don't we go ahead and get started, and I'll have a prayer and a spiritual thought here, and hopefully a couple more people join us, and we'll record.
Okay.
And we already are recording, so we'll encourage people just to miss that first few minutes, unless they wanted to hear us talk about weather in Texas.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, would either of you volunteer for an opening prayer, or would you like me to say it?
I can say it.
Okay. Great,
All right.
Nancy. Thank you.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we're so thankful that we could join together in this meeting this evening. We pray that Thy Spirit will be with us and that we'll be able to learn a lot. And we say these things in the name of Thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. And we'll have an extra prayer in our hearts for those that are affected by those events down by you. So our worries this time of year are always fires, but we've had a very cool and wet April and May, which is very rare, and so we're hoping that delays or postpones the fire season.
Yes.
So there's always something.
Yep.
All right. Well, my thought tonight is I think I look at world religions today, and we certainly don't critique others and their beliefs, etc. But one of the things I really like, and hopefully this is a worthwhile thought, in Moroni, chapter 8. Mormon is talking about infant baptism, and lots of churches practice infant baptism. They practice that on a regular basis. We know some of those, and the point isn't to point out their failings, but I love how direct the prophets in the Book of Mormon are, and how direct prophets in general are. And if you look at Moroni chapter 8, verse 4, and I'll just read a couple of verses. It says, "And now, my son, I speak unto you concerning that which grieveth me exceedingly. For it grieveth me that there should be disputations among you. For if I have learned the truth, there have been disputations among you concerning the baptism of your little children." And he goes on to say, "And now, my son, I desire that you should labor diligently, that this gross error should be removed from among you. For this intent have I written this epistle." And he goes on to talk about this some more, and how that the atonement of Christ saves those that are infants. But if you look at this, you cannot read that without understanding that that prophet is not mincing any words. And I'll go back, he says, "This gross error should be removed from among you." And I think when you look at this, if we listen to prophets today from President Monson, or whether we read about Mormon and Moroni in the scriptures, I think it's important to remember that prophets are direct. And if we think of both not only our literal prophet, but the prophets, seers, and revelators that we sustain in the First Presidency and the Quorum of 12, we have 15 men that give us direct counsel, sometimes this direct, and if you listen to conference, there's specifics on this. And I'm grateful that we have people that are direct with us, that give us great teachings, whether it be Mormon from the scriptures or President Monson from the last conference. And another example of that, I think if you guys have listened to Elder Perry's last conference address, how he's talking about, in his own wonderful style that we will miss certainly, talking about how the family is ordained of God and why that's important, and the great testimony that he shared on that. So I just wanted to share that with you, for the two of you that are here, and then the others that may watch this, is that we have a prophet, and he is direct, and he is wonderful, and we have many prophets, seers, and revelators that can teach us and help us return home to our Heavenly Father. And I say this today in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
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 Hey, Nicole.
Hello.
Hi, Nicole. Did we lose Rosemary?
Yeah, she dropped off. She may be having
Well,
problems with it online.
I don't think she just got bored. She's one of our stalwarts, so I think
Yeah.
maybe the weather affected what she's able to do, and if she can, I'm sure she'll rejoin us.
Yeah.
Nicole, how are you doing today?
Good.
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 All right. Well, I wanted to start off with what were, out of the topics, just kind of walk me through the topics that were the choices for the week in your mind, and what were the top 2 things for each of you that you got out of those choices for this week. Tell me what there was a choice. Set the table for me on what we had a choice of, and pick 2 on why you thought they were important.
In our benefits and compensation packages.
Right.
Okay.
Health insurance.
Okay. All right.
And flex time, I thought was interesting.
Okay. And I take it you get that every week at work, right?
Yes.
And retirement's another one.
Okay. Flex time, retirement. Those are very interesting things. Some of them are more up and coming. Some of them we don't get much at all.
Education assistance.
Okay. Okay. So we're going to talk about those 2 things.
Brother Bonnie.
Yes.
I just got a text message from Rosemary, and she's wondering if you could invite her again.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, she
Okay.
said that she thinks she can get in if you do an invite.
Absolutely. I will do everybody. We'll just do that one more time. And you want to tell her that should be there.
Okay. Okay.
Are you guys in the same group, Nancy?
Yes,
All three
we
of
all
us are.
Oh, all three of you are. Okay, well, you guys are well represented. Thank you for being here tonight. Without you, I'm not sure we would have had a meeting, so I appreciate you being here. And those of you that are watching the recording, I apologize. We're a little bit slow in getting started, but we'll get there. So let's talk about compensation and benefits. Now, I had a phone call, and I apologize, I don't recall who that was this week, on what the difference is between those. So let's start with, and talk, or type here. Let's start with compensation. What is compensation in the terms that you got from the meeting, or the reading, excuse me? And then just in your own words.
I would think compensation is when kind of you're reimbursed for things. You might provide it yourself, but then the company helps you later on.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
I'm going to go a little simpler than that. I'm going to say it's a paycheck.
Yes.
It's
I
anything.
was just thinking that same thing. Money.
Okay. Okay. It's pretty much anything to do with dollars. It can be a bonus. It can be an incentive. Welcome back, Rosemary.
Oh, thanks.
We were hoping your house didn't wash away or something like that.
Well, it's blowing out there.
Yeah. Hopefully you're up on a hill. And I guess there aren't many of those there, are there?
No.
Okay. Paycheck, bonus, incentive. We'll have another one here. Pay for performance. And I didn't spell that right. My apologies. I don't like doing that chat because I don't have my spell check with me sometimes. What else is compensation that you can think of? What am I missing here from your reading or just in general?
Well, it's more than just, getting a paycheck. It's also all the extras that you would get. You have to factor in insurance and anything that your company does for you that's not, other than a paycheck. That's something they make sure that you have for the service you render to them.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess here's the answer I gave to someone on the phone this week. Benefits are compensation, but compensation is not necessarily benefits. And Nancy, is that what I'm hearing you say?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. So for our purposes here, it's going to be easier. We're going to talk about compensation as the dollars. Okay. Whatever way you get that, that's the part that I want to talk about for a minute here, and that's just money. However you get that. Okay? Now, for argument's sake, let's talk about benefits. Because these are all, HR people just do this in the same breath. That's just that simple. They always do. So benefits are what? Why don't you guys rattle some of those off?
Insurance. Health insurance. Health
Okay.
401k.
Alrighty. Okay. And I would agree that a 401k is a benefit, not a compensation.
Right.
Again, maybe that's a semantic thing, and it maybe doesn't matter, but I would say that.
Yes.
What else?
And a type of a pension plan.
Okay.
What kind of plan?
Pension.
Like a pension plan.
Yeah, there aren't many of those left, but there are still some that have them.
I just remember a few years ago, my boss said that he said we started a pension plan. It was old-fashioned, but we're going to get rid of it and start a 401k. And he said you can roll over what you have in there, or you can take the money, And so we had no idea what it would be, but what had happened was the stocks that he mainly invested in, it was like Monsanto, and it had gone through the roof. So he thought, this would be a good time, and it was in 2009, right before the big crash. So
it was not a good time, right?
Yeah, well, but he felt like he needed to convert it, and so right before the crash happened, of course he had the 3-month waiting period when he ended it. We had to wait until the end of the year to get our money, but it was like over $100,000 that we didn't even know we had. I was like, what?
And so you ended up, it was okay then, is that right?
I took the cash and invested in a ranch. I bought
okay.
land with it because and I'm really glad I did that because it has tripled in value. So,
Well,
but it was
excellent.
weird that we didn't know. I mean, it was just a benefit that we didn't even know we had.
Well, apparently you should be grateful for that. I think that's awesome. Great for
Yeah,
you.
it was great. Yeah.
All right. So we have compensation and we have benefits. We're going to talk about those tonight, and we'll put more things in here. I would also add, you have health insurance, you have 401k, you have pension. One is disability insurance. Some companies provide life insurance or allow you to purchase that.
You
One
can
of the
have
other, go ahead.
long-term disability with that too.
You have long and short-term
Right.
disability. Were you employee? If you have stock that an employee can purchase, that's different than what I said earlier on stock options, because that would be an option would be, you know, if the stock may be worth $10 a share and you have the opportunity to buy it at $5. So that's what I call the stock options versus the employee purchase, which means I just want to buy, you know, 20 shares of XYZ stock type of thing. So there are also benefits of employee ownership. All right.
Is pay days off a benefit?
Absolutely. I'm going to call that
Okay.
PTO. I'm going to call vacation.
What's the PTO? I missed that.
Paid time off.
Oh, paid time off.
Sorry, that's an HR. We just do that all the time. Hang on here. And again, I apologize. I should look when I type. So, all right. So those are some things. Now, let me ask you this. Let's talk about, now in my mind, the one thing, I'm trying to break these out separate. Most of us consider these together. Now, I want to ask you for friends, family, people you know at work, you name it. Which of those two do people consider most appropriate or most important? Which one do people care about most?
Maybe insurance.
It depends, I think, on where you are in your life.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if you're married and you have a family, you're going to look at it for the benefits. Where if you're maybe a young person coming in, you may be looking at it more for the money because you don't care about any long-term or short-term health and that other, you know, those other things.
Okay. All right. I'm a 23-year-old male. How much do they worry about health insurance?
They don't.
They don't.
About that much. Okay.
Yeah.
23-year-old males don't worry about a lot of things, but we won't go there. So I'm the only male here, and I passed 23 a long time ago. So, all right. So we have compensation and we have benefits. Most people, I think when you look at this, here's my take on this, and tell me if you guys agree.
Uh-oh. Did we lose him? Oh, there it is.
No, I'm still typing here.
No.
I think.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, ahead, Nancy, please.
I was just going to make a comment. Because I have 4 sons, and my oldest son is 27, and then I have a 25-year-old and a 22-year-old.
Okay,
and,
then you know this well.
Yeah, this is, and they work while they go to school, and so Drew, my 22-year-old, he worked as an assistant manager at the jewelry store in Wichita Falls, and he didn't have any. He had an insurance benefit with his compensation, and he wasn't didn't really think of much of it, but he got really sick last year and had to spend quite a bit of time in and out of the hospitals getting lots of tests done, and wasn't sure what the problem was, and his insurance covered it, and he saw the bill of what, because he saw the bills and they were around $20,000, and his insurance covered it all. He had really good insurance with this jewelry store, but of course they recommended that he do something else that wasn't as stressful, because he was taking a full load going to college and working full time.
Okay.
And he had just bought a house. He and his new wife had just bought a house, and so he took a different job, but at like Home Depot, just part time. But he made sure he had insurance, because he's like, oh my gosh, he said that saved me, because he has been diagnosed like with a type of Crohn's disease, so he's very much aware of insurance now.
Okay.
The other boys
right.
don't care, but it's like just because he's the youngest, but he saw like what could have happened, financially to him.
Well,
He would have.
very good.
Yeah.
I don't know if I told you guys or not. My class last semester knew this very well. I was fine one day. Went to the doctor for what I thought was a fairly simple problem. Ended up spending 18 days in the hospital. Had 5 surgeries. Every antibiotic known to man that was probably like $5,000 a bag. And the bill that I know of, I'm sure, topped $250,000, $300,000. And with the example I give to folks is that they say I can't afford insurance, and I ask them if they could afford not to have that if something happened. And it's a very difficult thing, because what you guys are talking about, and Nancy, thank you for that example. Your son learned because he was lucky. Or I'm sorry, I shouldn't say lucky. He made he made the right decisions, and that blessed his life. Am I okay in saying that?
Yeah.
There are lots of folks that within a day or two of being diagnosed with a disease or having something like a car accident, they could be medically bankrupt and ruin their entire future. Mm-hmm. And so most of us still get our insurance through work. Now, do all 3 of you work? And Nicole, I think you're still there. I see your picture. I don't know if you are.
I'm still here.
Okay. Do all 3 of you work?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And do all 3 of you either get or have the option of insurance through your workplace?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Okay. All right. Okay, so 2 out of 3 of you. Is that because, Nicole, the type of job you have, or the kind of work you do, or a choice that you made?
It's a very small company.
Okay. And that happens a lot.
And my boss has chosen to have us be independent contractors.
Okay.
So I'm paying for my own.
Okay. And then again, there's nothing wrong with that. That's what your boss thought would be the best for him and you, and is doing that. I guess my point in all this is that when you look at the insurance benefit, there's a lot of things that are out there about that, which is the Affordable Care Act. Some people call that Obamacare. You can call it whatever you want. And there's some really good things that have happened because of that. But there's still, I think the latest number is 40 to 60 million Americans, and that would be adult wage earners, that do not have insurance. And again, they may not have a job, they may not have this or that or the other, but there's still issues, and that includes people that are on state-funded insurance or Medicaid or Medicare or those type of things. So, go ahead.
Well, I was just thinking so you're saying that includes people on Medicaid and Medicare in that 40 to 60?
No, it excludes them. I'm sorry, I didn't say that right.
Excluded. I'm sorry. Okay, I wasn't sure. Yeah. I thought that wasn't a very big number if it included them. Okay.
But I mean, you have that group that have it provided for them, and there's still 40 to 60 million working adults that don't have insurance.
And I bet it's young ones still.
It very well can be. So insurance is a big deal. It is tougher than it used to be. An average increase for a company, anybody want to give me a guess on, and maybe you read this, an average increase year over year for health insurance when a company provides that? Who can give me a guess on that? A percentage.
About, I would say maybe a 10% increase each year.
Okay. All right.
Just a rough guesstimate.
Okay. Anybody else?
I was just saying, I think it was going to be higher, like maybe around 25, but.
Okay. Nicole?
Oh, I would think it's right in what they said, between 10 to 20. I don't think it'd be higher than that.
All right. Well, you guys, if you put the Nancy and Rosemary together, it's in the 13 to 20% range. And if you think about that, that means whatever a company pays and an employee pays when they do it together, in 4 to 5 years, you end up paying double what you were 4 to 5 years previous. Or an employer just chooses to say, I'm paying that for you. So the dollars with that are incredibly huge. Many people that used to have a $10 copay don't have those. And there's lots of high deductible plans that are out there because that's all employers can afford. So there's a lot of issues out there with insurance, meaning inflation from medical perspective, as well as the overall cost of the company. And I'm glad, not that I think this is a good thing for you, Nicole, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but the example that you're talking about, your employer has chosen to do a 1099 relationship, which means what for us in our class here? What does that mean in English, I guess?
You're self-employed.
I am self-employed.
Okay.
My husband's
All right.
self-employed
You're
too.
responsible for everything. You got to pay your Social Security, everything.
Yep.
Am I right? And is that right, Nicole?
Mm-hmm.
And that sometimes can be pretty fun, right?
No.
Complicated.
I was being sarcastic.
It's a little more complicated.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Now, I'm not sure that they aren't making it worth it, because some employers say, I'll pay you a premium if I don't have to have you as employees. I'll pay you. You would have made this. I'll give you this, and it can work out for some people, but it is an interesting challenge for folks.
It takes a little more self-discipline.
Well,
my husband's always been self-employed, and I just remember when we were a lot younger, and I would see those big checks come in, and I'm like, wow. And he's like, oh, no, we have to put this back for taxes. We have to do this with that. It was like, we get this much.
And you have to get down to that adjusted gross income, because that's your actual income.
Mm-hmm.
You've got things, when you're self-employed, that you have to take off the top.
Yep, absolutely. Well, let's talk about benefits for a bit. So we have health insurance. Those are things that have been out there for a long time. We have the HMO whole issue that came about in the 90s. We have PPO plans. We have something now called a health savings account. Anybody understand, or did you either read or know what those are by chance?
Isn't that one where they pay into it and then everybody just pays into it, and then when you need it, you can draw out of it?
You're 80% there, Rosemary.
The flexible, is that the flexible benefit plan?
Close.
Like
that can be. Well, that's a couple of different things together.
Okay.
Well, that's fine. That's great. A health savings account is pretty simple. It's health insurance, typically high deductible, and they pay usually nothing, like doctor's office visits, everything that's not preventive, like mammograms or physicals, those type of things. When you have a health savings account, it's paired with a high deductible health plan. So, for example, we have one at work we just put in this year. The first $5,000, the plan pays $0. Okay, and then anything over $5,000, it pays 100%. So it's basically the first $5,000 on you. Rosemary's part is correct. It says you can add money to that, and I own that health savings account. It does not belong to the company. And so the nice thing about this for some people is these are usually much cheaper than your average health insurance, because you're sharing the risk with the insurance company. And then what that allows you to do is to say, I'm healthy, or even if I'm unhealthy, I'm putting money in here, and I can use that for a lot of different things that go along with healthcare. So I'm going to pick on Nancy because I know she's got, you said 4 boys?
Yes.
Okay. Let's say all 4 of those boys were your dependents. You could use that health savings account, even if they're not on your insurance, pay for things like medical or dental expenses on their behalf or other things, even if they have to be your dependents, but even if they're not on your insurance plan, you can use that money to assist them. So it's a pretty interesting concept. You're sharing the risk with the insurance company, and generally they'll pass on the cost savings to you. The question for many people when they do this is it worth enough cost savings to share that risk? So that's kind of a trend that's out there as far as benefits go. So I think one of the other things we see with healthcare is you have insurers trying to share the wealth, meaning they want to know if you've got coverage somewhere else. They want to know how they can reduce costs because they're trying, again, to try to keep healthcare affordable, even if we don't think they are. But again, the example that you gave, Nancy, with your son, or my example in the hospital, is that those costs just rack up and up and up and up, and they go quickly. So, any other comments from you guys on health insurance, either from the reading or from just general life experience?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Nicole.
I was just going to say that it seems to be kind of complicated, especially for the employer.
Mm-hmm. Much more so than it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go ahead, Rosemary. You were going to add something too.
Well, I was going to ask. You know the plans where you can have money taken out of your income and you pay in it, and you can set it aside to pay like dental, or I can't remember what it's called now. My mind's blank.
Well, Nicole gave us
the
that
government, or is that the employer?
Was it Nicole, you, or was that Nancy that said that? Called flexible spending.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the
Okay.
flexible spending account. Mm-hmm.
It's both. The government gives tax credit on that. So how that works is this: is that I take, and there's a limit. Usually it's $5,000 or less. Let's say it's, and it can be set by the employer. Let's say it's $3,000, and I take that out. I commit that I'm going to have that deducted from my check every week or every other week or whatever I get paid for that entire next year. All right. What the employer does is they put that money in that account pre-tax. So if I've got a child that's going to need braces, I can use that money now. So let's say it's 2 weeks into our new benefit period. The employer commits to say, I've got $3,000 up front, but I'm going to collect the rest of that over the next year pre-tax on behalf of that employee. And then the other part that helps the employer out a bit is that it's use it or lose it. So if you don't use it all and you say you leave $500 on the table, the employer keeps that money because they're the one that put it up in the first place, and sometimes they lose out on that.
Would that be considered under benefits too?
Oh, yes. Yeah,
Okay.
because again, the point of that would be I get to borrow the company's money, first of all. Second of all, I don't pay taxes on that money. So that $3,000, let's say I was going to do it for orthodontia, and let me just be generous and say it was $5,000. That basically says 2 weeks after I start my benefit deduction or my new benefit period, I've got $5,000 to go put braces on my kids. And then they're going to take it out of my paycheck without interest and without taxes over the course of that year. So it's a nice touch. There's a flavor of that in those healthcare savings accounts that I told you about, but that one is different than the health savings accounts. Okay, very good question. Any other thoughts on either benefits, what you see, what you don't see, trends, things you read about in our assignment for the week?
I don't know very much about what an HMO is.
Okay. All right.
Do people still, I mean, is that something that's offered still? That
they're still out there.
there are?
They were a very big fad in the 90s. Mm-hmm. They pared back, but they're still there, and they can work very well. Anybody, you guys want to tackle that, or you want me to? Go ahead, and if either of you know, why don't you add your thoughts to what Nancy's question is?
Go say I don't.
Okay. Nicole?
I believe it's to me, I thought an HMO and a PPO are basically the same thing. They're just you're a certain network that you have to go to, certain doctors, and you have to get to go to them. And if you go outside of that network, then you're charged more.
You're almost there. You're 90% there. let me add the 10%. Good explanation on that. HMO is a stricter network of doctors, clinics, and hospitals. Okay, they're saying I'm restricting you to this group of providers, which is more constrictive than this group of PPO, which is HMO is Health Maintenance Organization, and PPO is Preferred Provider Organization.
Provider. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you guys keep me honest here because I always get those mixed up. So the HMO is, I'm going to keep a closer watch on where you can go. In turn for that, I will give you a lower rate because they can control costs better. So, for example, they own they don't own, but they're contracted with a hospital, urgent care, pharmacy, doctors, etc., that say you're going to do this service for this amount of money. The PPO is a little bit broader. They'll have more doctors, more hospitals, more labs, perhaps a different drug formulary or something like that. And so there's a little bit more choice there. So, for example, an HMO, I just came out of one about a year and a half ago in Phoenix. Well, I got to take this back. This is a little bit of a hybrid. Cigna Insurance, which I'm sure you guys have heard the name of, in Phoenix, and pretty much the only place in the country that has this, Cigna has their own clinics, meaning they own them. Their doctors work there, they have labs there, they do everything there, and they're a pretty sweet operation. They probably have about 15 to 20 of them in the Phoenix area. You can go there, but it's not an HMO. They just compete with other PPOs to give you good health service. Back in the 90s, that same organization with Cigna had HMOs that said, okay, I'm going to try to drive the price down, but you have to go to these doctors. So it's an HMO is more restrictive and a PPO is less restrictive. The HMO is lower cost, PPO is higher cost. There are very few health insurance providers that have HMOs with the brick and mortar anymore, like I told you that Cigna had, but there are plenty of them out there that still offer that. Okay, does that try to give you an explanation a bit?
Yes.
Okay, so and that's the fun part of all this. And so, other comments or questions about benefits from you guys? Then we'll go on from there.
I'm good.
Okay. All right. A couple other things I would add, and again, jump in if you have any other thoughts or questions. Health insurance is one of those. I don't want to spend all night on that because we're getting well, we're not at the end yet. We're getting closer. We have dental insurance and vision insurance. I want to kind of talk about those for a bit. Health insurance almost either has a very high limit, which is a couple $1 million, or many health insurers anymore are unlimited, meaning there's no limit to the dollars that you can pay out. Dental and vision are very much the opposite of that. They are low-paying but helpful type of plans. So, for example, we have two dental plans where I work. One has a $1,000 maximum, not a $1,000 deductible, but a maximum. The most they will pay is $1,000. The other plan we have is $1,500 maximum. You're thinking, well, that didn't do much. But here's how we look at it. The $1,000 plan will, out of that $1,000, your cleaning and x-rays that happen a couple of times a year get covered. They'll cover a cavity or two. And so if you've got basic dental care, you're going to have that provided almost at 100%. The $1,500 plan covers more. It covers those same things, but if you had like a root canal or a crown or a bridge or those things you needed, it would cover about half of that cost up to $1,500. So both of those plans, unlike medical, are basically a significant discount plan. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And is that your experience with your dental care that you guys have?
We don't have any dental care at our work.
Okay.
They don't offer any. And we are a small company, so.
Okay. Again.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah, they don't have anything like that. We just pay out of pocket when we go.
Okay.
Where my husband used to work, he did have a pretty good dental plan, dental and vision, and it was one of those where if you kept going consecutively, they would cover more towards your costs, so that if you were, religious about going to the dentist, after a few years, it was 100% covered.
Yeah, very good, and that's a nice plan. Because their logic is they're going to catch things as they come up, which is very important with any kind of health care. Vision care is a little bit different yet. That one is basically a steep discount plan. So, for example, you'll get an eye exam for $10 or $20. You'll get a pair of lenses for $20 or $30. You'll get a pair of frames once or twice a once a year or once every other year. And so, for example, I'm blind as a bat. These are just reading glasses, but I've got contacts too. And my eye exam bill every year was $500 to $600. With that with that eye care plan, it reduced it down to about $250. So it's typically a little bit even less than dental insurance, but it's still an assist that can be there. So other benefits that we talk about, let's talk about disability a little bit. And you guys don't live in California, all right? There are a few states, California being one of them, that have state-provided disability. I don't think Texas is one of those.
No.
Any guess what that would be? What state-provided disability would be?
Is it 50% maybe of their income?
Okay, it's a percentage of their income, and why would they get that, Nancy?
So that they could keep functioning if that something happened and they couldn't work.
Okay,
Just
absolutely
so that
perfect.
they can keep paying the bills.
Okay, perfect example. Are they going to get rich on that?
No.
No,
Okay.
but they
All right.
probably won't go on the street, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. I couldn't have said it better. It's a plan to keep body and soul together, keep a house or a roof over your head, keep food on the table. And the reason I brought up California is California has a state plan for that. Most states do not. So that means if I go back to my example of being in the hospital for 18 days, and I was very concerned about this, we at the time did not have disability coverage and had nothing like that. Arizona is like most states. If I'm not working, what's the state going to do for me?
Nothing. Nothing.
Nothing. If things got really, really, really bad, they might put me on a welfare plan that would provide some help, and we certainly know the church has some resources there, but there's nobody here with a checkbook if I can't work.
They didn't send you to find the duck?
Say again?
They didn't send you to find the duck?
No. Well,
No,
this
it was
is
Affleck.
the duck commercials cost money. The duck is not cheap.
No, I've looked into it.
Yeah. So what we do, we put a disability plan in place, and I've done this in other companies as well. So for short-term disability, which is typically 2 weeks, meaning they're not going to cover it if you have a bad case of the flu, from 2 weeks to 3 months, our plan, and there's many similar like this, will pay 60% of your income. Now, here's the nice thing about that. 60% of your income, but the benefit if you use this is that there are no taxes taken out of that. So 60% of your income without taxes taken out is going to get you where?
Like at 80% of your income.
Pretty close to your income.
Mm-hmm. So they're paying for that benefit with after-tax money out of their paycheck that's already taxed, and those rates are fairly inexpensive for a person making $50,000 a year. That can be like $6 or $7 a week. It's not that bad. Okay, so that's what short-term disability is. It goes 2 weeks to 3 months. You hit 3 months, it's done. It just shuts off. The other disability is long-term disability, which goes from 3 months all the way, typically, it used to be said till you retire, but now it's until Social Security kicks in. So, for example, if I have a car accident and I can never work again, and I'm declared completely disabled, and I receive Social Security, that's when that long-term disability would end. Those things rarely come quickly, and so that also, again, I'm speaking for our company, but there's many similar, is that we have that at 60% also. That is typically much more expensive, especially with age, and the duration of that could be how long? So I'm going to come, Nancy. I'm going to come back to your 27-year-old son. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Whoever was jumping in, go back. Tell me.
It was me, and I just said they could be years. It could be a long time.
Mm-hmm. So someone that has a disease, or they have a traffic accident and can never work again, those dollars are there for a long time. If they're declared disabled and Social Security kicks in, again, that's when they stop. Again, used to be retirement age. Now it's till the until Social Security benefits kick in.
Now, are we talking Social Security as of like Social Security disability, or are we talking like Social Security where you can start collecting it at 62 or 65?
Both, because if
Okay.
if you're given Social Security benefits, that long-term disability is going to stop, Rosemary.
Okay.
So if you're disabled and they declare you disabled and you get $2,000 a month for Social Security, so what they'll do is this, and then that's a great question. So let's say you were getting $5,000 a month in disability. Social Security kicks in and they give you $2,000. The disability program would typically continue to give you $3,000 to make up for that.
That sounds like how the military used to do the retirement.
Mm-hmm.
Because when my husband first he was medically retired from the Navy, but he also did his 20 years. So
Okay.
part of his income was no more than his regular Navy retirement, but part of it was disability, so that was tax-free, and the other part was considered Navy retirement. But they've since changed that.
Okay. Okay, good example. So one of the things that people care about, again, we just put this in place in our company. We had about 30%, maybe a little bit more, of our employees sign up for this because people realize if I can't work, life is not going to be good. I don't want to lose my home or move back in with mom and dad or something else like that. That can be embarrassing when you're almost 60 years old and have to move back in with mom and dad. It can be a problem. Yeah. So anyway, that's the other one that's key out there. And then there's employers that allow life insurance to be purchased. That's not a lot to talk about, but typically the older you get, the more that costs. But employers are an easy way for people to get life insurance that, especially when they're young, can be very affordable. As you get older, it's a little more expensive. So, any other thoughts on the benefit side of things? I wanted to spend a little more time on compensation, but not much because we're running out of hour here. Thoughts from the three of you?
Do very many companies offer life insurance anymore? Because ours doesn't, because it's a small company. But
And Nancy, when you say small, how many people work there?
there are 5 of us in our office, and then there's 8 sales reps. But they're most of them are independent and self-employed.
Okay.
The sales.
So you've got 20 people that work in your company, roughly. Okay. And that's not unusual because companies that offer that self-employed way of doing things maybe couldn't do that any other way, so they give extra dollars that may or may not be up to what you would have gotten if you had received those benefits. So it's a tough thing for those business owners to make that work. So anybody want to tackle that question? Do companies still offer life insurance?
I know mine does, but I work for the government, so.
Okay. Well, can you give us a snapshot of what they offer you, Rosemary?
Well, actually, I get so much basic life insurance, and then I can opt for the purchase of either, how it's paid out, whether it's just paid out to all the people or just one person. It's basically what I remember of it. Okay.
So you're putting dollars. Well, they're giving you something, and you have the choice of adding to that. Am I correct?
Right.
Okay. Nicole, anything you would add there?
I'm trying to think. I know there are some, but I don't know that there are many that do. Probably the larger companies that would.
Okay, very good. Typically, it is what's called term insurance, meaning if you leave the company, it's gone. It's not an investment. It's not a cash dividend later on. So you're basically renting that life insurance. Again, there's sometimes exceptions for things that are, if you sign up and are, found dead 2 days after you get your policy, there's certainly exclusions for taking your own life that are there. But again, it's typically provided if you're this age and you're male, or if you're this age and female, whatever, they have a dollar amount. You pay that dollar amount, and you're covered by that life insurance. Again, most companies, it's difficult to take that with you. It's difficult for that to be portable. But it's kind of easy, and there's one key phrase that goes along with this when it comes to companies, and that's called guaranteed issue. Any guess what that would be from the three of you?
I would think that means that you don't have to do a health exam. You're going to get it regardless of what your situation is.
Okay. And for example, I'll give you our example. You in my company, and this is not untypical, it's very typical, you could get up to 5 times your salary in life insurance. That is what you could purchase from our company, and that cost you X. Now, the guaranteed issue part was you can get up to $100,000 guaranteed issue, which means you could be dying of cancer tomorrow, and as long as you made it to when that policy went into effect, that would be there, all right, and you'd be getting that benefit. If you didn't, let's say you wanted all 500,000, then you would have to go through medical underwriting, and great job on describing that, Nicole. And then they may say, yes, you get it, or they may say, no, you don't. But that guaranteed issue is always there. And usually when a company offers this, that guaranteed issue is usually the first time they offer it, or when the employee first starts. So that's kind of how that works. And it can be great. I've had to use this a couple of times in my career for employees' families, and they're very grateful they had it. Again, especially when you're younger, the cost for this is very inexpensive. It goes up fairly significantly as you get older.
Do they have anything about like where like if you start doing it when you're younger and like your payment into that or whatever is a certain amount, that because you started younger you can keep it at that rate?
Generally not. What you're talking about, Rosemary, would be things that you would do if you purchased that on your own.
Oh, okay.
Typically not through work. So, for example, what you're talking about is one, and then there's also something called whole life insurance.
Right.
That would be, I own this policy. Let's say it's $100,000. And I started that when I was 21, and it was $10 a month. All right. If I did $100,000 life insurance when I'm 40, it's going to be $110 a month, something like that. And so what that says is I have this amount of money that's mine. I pay that $10 a month. It's called whole life. It doesn't typically go by company. Very few people, unless you're really looking forward, take the time to buy those policies, and that's really what you're doing. You're buying it. And as long as you keep the payments up, that dollar amount is there. The nice thing about those two, and you can sometimes cash those out later in life for a cash dividend. So that $100,000 policy may actually be worth like $80,000 in real dollars, and you can cash that out and use that for what you'd like to. Okay? But again, that's not typically tied to a company. That would typically be something you went out and purchased on your own.
Okay.
Okay, great questions. All right, so let me wrap up tonight with this. We have compensation, and we didn't spend much time on that, and we have benefits. So I get money for what I do. So compensation we left out is vehicles. So a lot of people have company vehicles as part of their compensation package. That is compensation, and generally that's $8,000 to $15,000 a year because of the actual cost of operating a vehicle. So I have that compensation to pay for me being there. The benefits are things that can keep me healthy, keep me focused. I go to the doctor, etc. But if you look at the compensation and benefits, the concept I'd like you to leave with is this thing up here called total compensation. If companies are smart, they'll have, for example, on their benefit enrollment when they do that, they're going to say you make $40,000 a year. And oh, by the way, your insurance and other benefits, if you will, are $15,000. So you're not making 40, you're making 55. And we pay for this, we pay for that, we pay for this. Here's what you pay for, but here's what we pay for. And companies that are smart will figure out how to get that message across to their employees, and that's what it's called, total compensation. So I'd have you guys, either watching or here, think about this and think, what is your total compensation? You know, because it's almost always important to know that. Now, a couple things that go along with this. Your company, again, Nicole, sorry to break this to you, and I'm sure you know this, they pay unemployment insurance for you. They pay taxes for you that you're not even paying. You pay your own, but they pay some for you. And then some companies will pay part of that insurance bill. So there is total compensation that isn't always seen. It's sometimes there in spirit, I guess, if you will, but it's not always there on that paycheck, and it's important to remember that. So, all right, good discussion. Any other final thoughts from you guys tonight, either on the compensation side or the benefit side or that total compensation side? Nancy?
Mm.
You look deep in thought there.
I was trying to think of anything else that I can't really think of anything else now.
All right. Not necessarily looking for questions, but any final thoughts or ideas on this?
Okay.
We'll come back to you too. Nicole or Rosemary, anything else to kind of wrap this thought up?
Well, with me, I mean, because I'm in a situation right now where, like I said, I'm basically self-employed where I'm paying all my stuff. So I think as an employer, what you offer your employees is going to make you make them more marketable, I guess.
Yep.
More and entice more people to work for you if you've got a better benefit plan than if someone has to have less, because if you don't have it, then someone's going to have to pay for it, and it's going to be the employee if they don't get it compensated through the
Excellent summary. Excellent summary. And here's the other trick with that is that sometimes it's just a lot of work. And again, Nicole, I don't mean to pick on you, but you know when you live with a 1099 wage, you get cash. You've got to pay attention to a bunch of different things. Nancy understood that as well, and Rosemary, you've probably been exposed to it also. These kind of things take time. You got to write checks. You got to pay attention to those. You can't just say, check, put it in the bank. And so that's kind of important to remember, and thank you for summarizing that for us, Nicole. So, all right, well, thank you all tonight. I know we started about 10 minutes late, but it's about 10 o'clock now. You guys are 11 in Central Time, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, it's time for all of us, including us 9 o'clockers here, to hit the sack. So thank you. I hope this was a good discussion for those of you that are watching it. Thank you for all you're doing in class, and I'll have another recording out either tonight or tomorrow morning on a couple of items that are just pertinent to the class. But everybody did. Go ahead, Rosemary.
I was going to say, is the grade book stuff all fixed? Because
It is.
My other class, she just barely got out to sending an email, and when I looked, some of the stuff I turned in just disappeared completely.
I have everything done through week 6. So the things you turned in on Saturday, I don't have done yet. But that I have a week to do that. But everything, including all the first papers and all your activities on week, I think everything was done. I may have a couple things that are not quite, but pretty darn close. So everything's pretty well caught up now. So thank you all. You guys are awesome. Thank you for your group, and thank you for being here, all 3 of you. Thank you to everybody that's participating in all ways in the class, and hope you're enjoying it and learning about the HR function.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. You guys have a great night. Stay dry down there in Texas.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Nancy, do not cross a bridge that's flooded, please.
I will not do that. I promise.
You know, we have people in Arizona that do that, and people die every year thinking, I'll get across that. And they find them downstream, and they're done. So please, for your sake and ours, just that meeting can wait.
Okay.
Plus, you've got the perfect excuse. Hey, the bridge was flooded. What do you want me to do? Walk across
Really?
it? But I sound like I'm preaching here, so I apologize.
No, that's okay.
You guys have a great night, okay?
All right. Thanks.
All right.
Good night.
Thanks. Night.